Hey there, good morning. It's 8:52 a.m. It is Monday morning. It is July 28th, and I just woke up, I would say about 2 hours ago. Got a little bit of my housework done, and I was thinking, okay, should I go to the library today? I took the weekend off, meaning like I kind of stepped away from the whole website thing, and then I had mentioned that I was going to be looking at social media sites. And today it is the day that I will be going to the library at some point, okay? At some point, most likely this afternoon, okay? I am not someone who knows a lot about social media. I would say that because these Christian groups did what they could to ostracize me for the last 12 years, I don't really have much interaction on social media. I mean, I have people joining Facebook. I get a lot of connects on Facebook, and I get the feeling that they have some sort of a direct connection to this network that was a part of the trafficking ring. Okay, so I don't really engage in much conversation with the people on Facebook. And so I had mentioned, I feel like I'm stepping into a completely different world. Like, I don't know anyone. One of the things that you deal with when you are a victim of human trafficking is you're isolated. So, the people that you used to know, there's no point in communicating with them because they have obviously betrayed you. And then you also have to go out into a world that was completely toxic at one time. So it is not an easy thing to do, okay? But and this is one of the reasons why I struggled with telling my story about, the bloodline targeting. But then I realized, okay, I did some meditation, and then I also realized that, even though I studied, different religious backgrounds, I had no idea that, within their meetings, within their membership, their exclusive membership, they talk about certain people such as me, burden babies. And oftentimes we are the topic of their conversation. We are the targets of their hatred. So, I am stepping into a world where I don't feel trust to anybody. I am walking into like a completely different experience with my eyes wide open. Okay, so it's not easy. So I would say I understand that when it comes to me taking care of myself, being able to provide for myself, okay, which is something everyone is required to do. um I am uncomfortable with the situation. You know what I mean? I either have to work a 9 to 5 job, or I can do what I'm doing right now. And so I'm like, okay, well, I believe in my work structure. And this is the path that I've decided to take. And so I understand there's a lot of things that go into it. You want to be engaging on social media, you want to connect with people on social media. And so I'm coming from an angle of me, introducing myself to people that at one time were determined to kill me. So I don't feel comfortable with people. Now, yesterday, I'm getting into this message. This message is that this is a divine message and indicates that I am somebody who has the ability to utilize significant like energies and powers, which I already know this, okay? And I don't try to utilize my power for negative things. I do try to hone in on my surroundings. I try to, banish or release, or how could I say, minimize negative energy that gets directed to me. But the messages I get is that I have to move on. I have to keep going. And like I said, there's certain things that I feel that are that's too much mental baggage to carry on in my life. And I would say, I understand that this program, okay, as being a victim of human trafficking, relates to me being an adopted child, the whole Joseph Mengele thing, MK Ultra, Operation Paperclip, the fake family thing is just too much for me. And the fact that you had these people who were joining in on the harassment and targeting of me as well as my father, it is a very, I don't trust anybody. So I feel very uncomfortable being around people, and no, I do not trust anyone. So it's not an easy thing to do for me to do, but it's something that I have to do. Now, I do have a message. I know that my son is going in for surgery on Tuesday. I believe it's Kern Medical, and I want to make this announcement to Donald Trump as well as the people in the White House. I know that, I don't trust the medical industry. I will never trust the medical industry. I was upset that my son even has to have entering any action with you. I do understand that my son gets different treatment in this community, mainly because he is a half white person, which I think is just absolutely insane that they would, try to mistreat my son. I mean, try to mistreat me, and yet somehow, instruct my son to also view me in the same way that these people did. These people are animals, okay? So what I'm letting the White House know is that yes, my son is going to be at Kern Medical on Tuesday to get a light operation on his hand. Okay, I might go with him. We do have issues of the transportation because of the trafficking network. Has prevented us from having proper transportation. We could take the bus, whatever. Whether I am attending to his operation or not, I want to make it very clear that I do not trust anyone in the medical staff, and they better do right by my son. Period. Okay, now I understand it's a very light issue, but I'm sure my father went to the medical industry. Like I went to the doctor one time to take care of my son, and they ended up giving me an injection. Okay, I do not trust anyone in this community. Period. Okay, so the reason why I'm getting the attention of the White House is because I want to make sure that my son gets the proper care, even though this is like a community type thing. I'm very leery about doctors that perform under, medical, what do you call it? Like things like Medi-Cal and stuff. Like I don't trust doctors, period. Okay. So I'm just letting make sure that you kind of protect me. Now, people do understand now because this is the subject of me as well as my father, James Gordon, is something that goes back decades. Okay. And so the message I'm getting is, and now everyone knows the true story of the abuse of the Gordon family. That's right. James, as well as Maria Gordon, were completely innocent. So we ended up getting mistreated by people through the church system for no apparent reason. The other message I'm getting right now is that people find me attractive. Men and women are finding me attractive. I am not interested in dating at this time. Okay, I need to feel safe. I need to feel secure. Okay, I need to push through a bunch of people that I could never have any trust for. And I need to feel, I do not need to have any sort of issues with people trying to get my attention in that sort of manner. I am here for professional reasons only at this time. I do not foresee myself being interested in dating, seeing as how I will always remember that at one point you were trying to kill me. I need to continue on with my profession, period. The other messages that I get is that people are interested in my issue of I'm somebody who exposed Elon's association with the cloning operation. I had my suspicions, but I needed to talk about it because I didn't, I actually mentioned it because I was concerned about him at first. I don't know, I something tells me to walk away from the whole situation. Meaning, like I know that Elon, I feel as though I was a little too real for Elon, okay? Because Elon knew that he could not offer me the same level of friendship that I could offer him. He was somebody who was just not in a position to do that. Why? Because I believe he did not have a stable sense of himself. The reason why is because he was always bending over for the network. He spoke for the network. He did for the network. He didn't even know who he was. He was a mess, okay? So he really did not have anything to offer on the human level, unfortunately, okay? So I need to move away from all of those weird people, okay? To me, the human trafficking thing, the very fact that, I think that he was he could have been a decent person had he been existed under different circumstances. He was a victim, a church slave. He was somebody who was abused by his network, and it's unfortunate, okay? But I need to move on from that. So, whatever. Okay, so I do understand that I have to network with people, okay? And this is my issue today. Like, I woke up this morning like, fuck that social media thing. I really don't want to mess with it. I hate it. Okay, I hate it. I hate dealing with people because I would say this Christian organization that worked as a whole. Okay, like this is what's so hypocritical about it. Because like I said, I studied religions. I understood that everybody took a separate stance. Many years ago, and they were very adamant about it. Catholics wanted you to let you know that they were not the same as Mormons. Mormons wanted to let you know that they were not the same as these people. Blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, you find out that everybody got together to create problems for James and Maria Gordon. And I'm just going to tell you right now, That's like sin on like steroids. It's just basically what I'm saying. Is like, because these people work in a very covert, dark nature, the dark nature. And then what trips me out so much about this is the fact that the average Christian does not understand the difference between right and wrong. They were not even able to recognize that what these people were doing were twisted. That means that people are extremely immoral. Extremely immoral. Okay, but yes, I am trying to get ready to network with people. I'm not comfortable with the situation, okay, but it's something I have to do. Whether I was looking for a regular 9 to 5 job or I'm going into business with myself, you have to deal with it. Hang on. Oh, right. Sorry about that. Okay. So, yeah, whether, whether, but I would prefer to use, work under Gordon's occupational engineering. It's important that people understand that these are my ethics, these are my standards, and this is how I prevent myself personally anyway. Okay. So, yes, this is my route that I'm going. So anyway, I am not comfortable. You have to understand from my point of view, okay, that people for many years has been directing their hatred and their hate crimes directed towards me, okay, and I'm supposed to go out and communicate with these people. No, of course I don't feel comfortable. I don't think most people would. Okay, so but it's something you have to do. All right. So the other message that I got is that I know I'm not the only person who agrees that the Christians are very annoying with their trafficking issue. Okay, a lot of people are very grateful that I talked about this and brought this out in the open. And I get the message that I have exposed and healed many people who are victims of MK Ultra. Okay, and they feel very grateful. And a lot of these people are celebrities. A lot of these people are also politicians, because Christianity has made it very difficult to say the truth. They almost made it as if, is if you had an issue with Christianity, then you had an issue with God. And the problem with it is that they are separate. Okay, there is God, and then there is people who create things like religion, and there's people who run religion, and there's people who promote religion, and there's people who adhere to religion, and they're all people. And if you are a person, just like any person is open to becoming greedy, any person is open to becoming selfish, letting all of those desires that we're not supposed to have, okay, or at least get out of control, all right, can happen. And it was unchecked. They've left unchecked. They can do all kinds of things, and they created a worldwide genocide program out in front of everyone. And yes, this is what happened. The old story about James Gordon and Maria Gordon, the spirit traveler of the 1960s, blah 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 blah. This is the end result. Now you are coming to understand exactly what happened. I myself, okay, was completely unaware, and I am becoming aware of what happened, okay? Because of the workplace mobbing, because of the blacklisting, because of all of this, I chiseled it down, and this is the conclusion of the story. So, yes, okay, I am owed millions, if not billions of dollars, okay? And I had these people dragging their feet and allowing me to, mention everyone else, yell at everybody else. Once again, just like Rex Laverne, we had these religious groups that were fully responsible. And this is what's so shocking about it. Very shocking. Okay, people look at me as someone who is above everyone else. Okay, I have good standards. Okay, and it's not any. I don't think it's anything that should be considered. What do you call it? Difficult to adhere and live by. Okay, considering the fact that these are the laws of our country. Period. You know what I mean? It's a proper way of behaving. Okay. Yes, I do get the intuitive message that my father's apparition also protects my son. Okay. And because we were extremely persecuted, we were completely bullied, we were completely disrespected, we had a lot of negative energy directed towards us, and the divine wanted to provide protection, and that is what he's done. We are protected by supernatural forces. So, yes, I am very grateful for that. This is a message of divine origin. Okay, so when people, I have not seen the apparition of my father, but it is a message of divine origin, and also a message of our protection, and also a message of life after death, and also a way of, showing us as a holy group of people. And we are not of the world. We are not like we don't allow ourselves to sink to these standards. Now, I will say that, I have never like tried to enforce these sort of beliefs onto my son, okay? And I understand that people were, putting stuff into my son's mind, and I don't appreciate that, especially when considering they disregarded the fact that that was my child. Okay, this community is guilty of a lot of things, okay? A lot of things. Okay, and yes, because I know right from wrong. Okay, what other mess want to get? Yes, the Christians were wrong to do what they did. Okay. Um, I have researched, my social media. Now, yes, I was reading about social media in period, when it comes to businesses, social media. I have a regular Facebook account, okay? I don't really think it's necessary for me to make a formal announcement that I am kind of creating my own business on Facebook. I do believe that people on Facebook know just about everything about me, okay? Because a lot of these people were a part of the original targeting network and their affiliates and associates and so on and so forth, okay? Yes, I mentioned before that my father's apparition does protect my son, okay? Like I said, we are a group of people that are very rare, and I feel now that I understand the entire story about how long I've been targeted. Of course, I don't feel I can trust people. I don't feel like I can trust people. There were people who would come to my dad's house when we were younger. They would grin in our face and all this other. These people were working against us. So just because people are nice to me doesn't mean that I'm going to feel comfortable with them. You know what I mean? So this is not about trust. I don't need to trust you, but I do need to be able to work business and be able to get compensated. And this is where it ends. Okay, like I do something, I get paid, and that's where it ends. I'm tired of drama. Tired of drama. Okay. So yes, I am going to be making some announcements on Facebook, but on my secondary social media, whatever, I'm going to be directing it there. Mainly because I want to be able to make post and updated things about it, bring up topics, make people aware of no more. What do you call it? Promotions or whatever that I'm trying to do, advertise, whatever. So yeah, I do think it's necessary for me to look into that. People do look at me as a role model, and they look at me as a great leader. Like I said, I never thought myself of having to do something like this. You know what I mean? But now it's like now it comes to now I understand, why people would behave the way that they were doing, because this was a special operation by the churches actually, a collaboration of the churches, to put me in a genocide program, and people were willing to participate in it. Yesterday I went to, I break up my trips to the store on purpose, okay? Because if I got everything in one fell swoop, it would just be really boring. I need to get out of the house. I cannot stay cooped up in here. Yesterday I went to the store, right? And so, I saw some of these women were dressed really nice. They were obviously coming or going to church. And I look at people who go to church in a completely different way now. Like when I was younger, I used to think, okay, even though it wasn't my choice of religion, the reason why is because I saw bad examples and I just kind of stood away from it. But now I realize how dark it is. And I'm like, man, okay, these people are either coming back or going to a meeting to discuss who they're going to kill. I just look at church people like, my God, gross. Like, I just want to get the hell away from these people. Like, and how else am I supposed to feel? I cannot feel any other way. You know what I mean? Anyway, so the other message I get is that a lot of people do understand that this is a moral stain on the church. Okay, so a lot of people realize that I have every right to not ever want to have anything to do with organized religion. Okay, it's proven itself to be very wicked. Like I said, that doesn't mean that people can't turn their congregations around and try to do the correct thing, but it also shows it's a point. It proves a point. Okay, that man is open to doing these sort of things. Corruption. You can easily let corruption enter into any organization, and this is exactly what happened for years and years and years and years. I think about how they pestered my father to death. I think about how they bullied me in the workplace and did all these sort of things. These people, I've dealt with some serious evil stuff. Okay, so yes, this is the end result. This is the how everything unfolds. It's for many years people have been under mind control through their religion, as well as the propagation of things like MK Ultra and all this other stuff. So yeah, I'm done. I already mentioned I'm done with the outside world. Like I literally shut it out. Whatever I have to do for work related issues, I take care of work. I come home. I don't want to deal with it. I rarely answer my phone. Rarely do I answer my phone. I don't want to deal with emails or whatever. It's just, if it's not work related, I don't think anybody's got anything to say to me. I really don't. Okay. So anyway, what other message do I have? So yeah, it makes sense. I don't want anything to do with religion at all. So I know that a lot of people, I'm getting intuitive messages that a lot of people are starting to realize that the problems that Christians create, they're starting to realize that. You know what I mean? It could be something small that they might be experiencing. I think what I lost respect for, I lost respect for this anyway. I didn't see it as a whole program at the time. Like when I was working for the news station, I had a boss that was always bringing up the fact that, she mentioned that she loved Jesus and this is how she got her job and everything. And don't get me wrong, I will tell you, my boss, okay? This is one of the people that I actually worked with at the time at the news station who really did do her job. Okay, she really did do her job. I cannot say that she was just floating on the Jesus thing, okay? Because like I said, there's some people who are very incompetent at their jobs, and the reason why they're hired is because they're a part of this Christian network, okay? But I would say I'm giving much respect to my boss, because this is the one lady who I would say, did apply herself to her job, okay? But at the same time, it's not a form of professionalism. It is not professional. It is it's a basically a statement of your affiliation, of being a part of a group that gets you into the door, illegally. You know what I mean? It's not really taking an assessment of what you really have to offer. And I'm not saying that because I do believe that she was somebody who was qualified to do her job. Just because I would say that she did a good job. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? There are the other people. Like Rex Laverne, I know he owned his own business. I was not impressed with him at all. Okay, his children that worked at the company, the kid who stood at the front, I don't think he did anything at all. Okay, so it's these sort of things. And yes, okay, I get the intuitive message that a lot of people do now realize. People who followed my story for years before I even knew it. Like I had no idea that people were after my father like the way that they were. And that they were after me and all this other stuff. I had no idea that I was a clone or nothing like this. But for years people did. Okay, and so now they're starting to realize that yes, I have been tormented by a bunch of evil, wicked people, and yes, they helped do it. They were convinced to help do it. So this is the story. Me and my father were set up not by like some people always think. They blame Freemasons all the time, okay? And the churches have been letting Freemasons get the blame for everything. It's their origination. Okay, so these people sit up here and they lie. They lie. Okay, I'm going, okay, I don't want to go on and on about it. I'm just saying is that this is a part of that MK Ultra, people being mind controlled, believing stuff, rumor mills, being tricked into committing genocide or participating in genocide stories, getting here, people having one agenda, which was to kill me, and then telling the church another thing so that you guys would be willing to participate. Okay, this is exactly what it was, okay? And so this is what me and my father have been living under for years. So this is why I don't trust people, okay? But yes, people are starting to realize and open up and realize that, yes, Christianity is a problem in the workplace, okay? Like I said, I don't believe in discriminating against people. I want to make this very clear. I do not believe in discriminating against people for what they believe, okay? People have their specific reasons why they believe what they believe, okay? It is only when they do this dual affiliation type stuff, okay? This is what becomes a problem, okay? Anyway. Everyone does agree. Most people agree that my view of cloning. If you can't clone in an ethical way, don't clone at all. And I also believe this to be the same issue when it comes to bringing kids in the world. If you can't provide for your kids, don't do it. Don't bring kids in the world. You know what I mean? If you don't have a plan or you don't have an idea, I understand kids get born out of accident all the time. There's people who have accident kids all the time. But if you're not putting your best foot forward to provide for them and to make sure that their needs, their emotional, as well as their financial needs are being taken care of, don't bother. Don't bother, okay? Because you're just making another statistic, a statistic that's going nowhere. People recognize me as a successful occultist. Yes, I am not ashamed to be an occultist. I am proud to be an occultist. If it wasn't for the occult, there would be no religion. Okay, This is what this stuff is based on. Okay. And so I think it was silly for them to think that it was a good idea to, bring back people who, or even think that somebody who practiced the old ways would want to have anything to do with Christianity. You know what I mean? The mainstream one, the one that makes 21 billion trillion dollars. At least that was the money that we were talking about in the early 2000s or whatever. But yeah. Anyway, to make a long story short, what happened. This is our story. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm addressing Donald Trump and the rest of those people here in the White House. That my son is going into surgery at Kern Medical, one of the facilities here in Bakersfield, and it's supposed to be a very basic operation. I hope that everyone is going to be on their best behavior, and I am not trying to be arrogant, but you have to understand where I'm coming from. From my point of view, I have never been able to trust anyone. Okay, they use the medical industry to hurt me as well as my father, and I do not trust any of you. So I expect you to be on your best behavior, and I expect my son to recover. Okay, with no problems. Okay, and I have every single right to sit here and address this issue. Yes, I'm glad people understand. They finally understand. See, I had a lot of people attacking me on behalf of their religious views, right? And they don't even understand the origins of religion. They don't understand, they never even cracked open their Bible. But the thing is that one thing that you can do to keep members is create hate campaigns. I will tell you, this is something that bonds people more than anything. But see, now, if I was to have a religion, I would be talking about life enhancement skills, okay? I would have, programs to talk about, how people can better their lives, how they can reduce the impact of living on the earth. Meaning, because, there's a lot of hellish energies that go on. But the weird part is like, the church is the center of the hellish energies. That's what just blows me away. Anyway, yes, I know that my father's operation will probably be in the operating room with my son, and I also want to make sure that Donald Trump understands, as well as people in the White House, that I have dealt with the medical industry, and even though this community seems to treat my son better than me, even though because of racial reasons, which I find it very insulting that these people would do such belligerent stuff. But anyway, yes, I would like you guys to make sure that Kern Medical is on the up and up. Anyway, people do realize that this was a terrible injustice, and there are certain people who are making statements about it, and I do appreciate your support. Okay, for many years I have been in a program like this. Okay, for no reason. You know what I mean? And yes, it is very traumatizing to be attacked for something that you have no idea, idea of. Anyway, I do think they wanted me to feel ashamed to be the reincarnation of King Solomon, but there's just no way in hell I could ever do that. Everybody knows King Solomon is cool, and I'm very, very happy to be the clone of King Solomon. I am not happy to be a clone, though. You know what I mean? But the whole background, yes, I am. I love my incarnations of King Solomon, and I definitely love CB Braganza. I just absolutely love that guy. Also, I did put my picture on my website. My picture is on my website. Now, I know that people were trying to debate it because they were saying, I think a lot of people are, because of the controlling of women not wearing makeup and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not white and I'm not Mormon. And yes, I do think Elon Musk's group had something to do with that. I'm not a part of Elon Musk's group, meaning I'm not somebody who would adhere to his belief system. There's no reason for me to adhere to his belief system. You know what I mean? What this was human trafficking, and that should have never happened to me. But anyway, yes, my image is professional. Okay. And I do know that there's a lot of women who, I would say that I would not wear that dark of makeup, at work. Like, for example, the eye makeup and the lipstick, probably not. You know what I mean? I do go for a little bit lighter. There's different ways of applying makeup, and for professional reasons, there's a day look. If you look at like makeup artists, okay, people who do makeup professionally, which I do not, they'll talk about day looks. Day looks are like where you're not wearing like a lot of the dramatic looks, with the long stretched out eyeliner and stuff like that. That's more of an evening look for me, okay. I usually go a little bit lighter when it comes to mostly just hiding blemishes and, kind of making myself look a little bit more chipper, I guess. But I don't really get as dramatic with makeup for work related reasons. But I do wear it. Okay. Now, if I was going out somewhere, like an evening type place, I probably would wear like, a little bit more makeup than usual. I keep it very professional. But yeah, this was I did not like people trying to force me into that sort of trafficking group, and it really bothered me. I don't want to be associated with people who do not have the same belief systems that I do. It just makes sense not to, because I believe in my way of life. And for somebody to try to impose their views on me, that was a nightmare. Okay. Anyway, yes, people do recognize that this is human trafficking, and that I was right all along. All along, I was right, and I was saying it over and over and over again. This is one of the reasons why Christianity is to blame for so much of this. Like, they knew, they've been addressed. I was talking about this issue for as long as my channel's been on. I've been my channel's been up since 2015. The message I'm getting right now is celebrate that I freed a lot of human trafficking victims. I think that's wonderful. Okay, and yes, I was one of them, and now people know the story of me and my father, James Gordon. Okay, we are not evil people, not at all. My father was not an evil person. He was very close to the divine as well as I am. Okay, but we were victims of hate by the church. Okay. I think that's it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I'm going to sit back this morning, listen to a little bit of music, try to, get my thoughts straightened out. Have to get, my energy to even deal with social media. And I know it's only, entering in some information, putting up a picture, and maybe making like a quick statement really quick. It's not that difficult. Okay, something coming to my mind about spirits. People are interested in soul transition, and they're also interested in the self-love thing. And the good news is that all my issues with my traffickers ended in my favor. Okay, and I'm glad. Okay, I do want to forget what happened. This has been a nightmare. It's been an absolute nightmare. I do get the intuitive. A lot of people are talking about me wanting to be dating and stuff like that. I'm not. I need to be careful. Okay, and it doesn't cross my mind. In my mind, how I feel about people, I don't believe anybody has any redeeming qualities for me to be intimate with them. So seriously, I don't feel any desire to be intimate with anybody. I just want to be by myself, and I want to be very careful about who I come in contact with. Okay. So anyway, self-love is accepted. Okay. So, I love clothes. I only care about clothes. I only care about accessorating my clothes. I do not have any love for any people, period. Okay. And that should not be expected of me, considering I was dealing with a genocide program. People expect me to do well with Gordon's occupational injury. I will give you guys more updates as soon as I get my other social media site. Now, I do have my website up and running right now, and I didn't make any formal announcements. If you stumble upon it, great, but I'm not going to give you the website address just right yet. But I will be back with more of that information later. Okay. I was hoping to take a trip out. I just noticed that there's a Lancaster bus that comes to Bakersfield. I knew I used to take my son used to take this bus many years ago, but apparently it still runs. I'm thinking about taking that Lancaster bus just to go see what Lancaster's like. I haven't been to Lancaster in a long time, just for some sightseeing at some point. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye.